Hello, this is Rudy Giuliani, and this is the Rudy Giuliani Show. And we are very happy to be with you. I hope you're, I hope you're ready for a pretty non-complete evening. It's going to be dominated with usually a lot of controversial things, as we always have. But let's begin with the fact that it started off as a surprise. Today started off as a big surprise because one figures in the morning, the president is at home, getting up, having breakfast, sometimes very early morning meetings, sometimes early morning devoted to more personal things. He gets started pretty darn early in the Oval, probably before 9 for sure, although he's working upstairs a lot. I used to work upstairs with him a lot between 7 and about 8:45. And but today the press was really surprised to find him someplace else. You know, yesterday he made an announcement and they put out a draft executive order to prohibit banks from discriminating against conservatives. Now, he mentioned, what they had done to him and many other people, of which he has, a lot of evidence, just manifold evidence. I have actually never told him all the discriminating they did against me. He doesn't even have that evidence. It was really, really hard to find a place to put my business for banking, even though in the bank that I was in, I had been there for 28 years. And at the time, it was before the lawyer who was a partner of Hunter Biden and a bunch of others led cases to try to put me in bankruptcy, and I had to go into bankruptcy, and I got out. But this was way before that. This is when the net worth was like in the millions. And it was clearly because it was me. In fact, I'm not certain, Dr. Maria's not here today, but in one case, she's president of the company. In one case, they actually told her they feel bad about this, but the bank doesn't like to have, people that are involved in this Trump controversy around. So he's got plenty of witnesses if he needs them for cutting into these banks.
So let's play a clip from this morning. How about?
The roof of the White House is taking questions, or he was just a few moments ago. Let's listen in, please.
I think so. Well, that's quite a thing to see early in the morning. The president up on the roof. He's building a new ballroom, which they could use, by the way. The East Room theoretically has held I don't believe it's true. They say 800-900 people for a state dinner. It must be they combine a couple of rooms for that. There's no way the East Room holds 1,000 people for a dinner. Might hold 1,000, more like 800, like for a concert. I remember being at a concert there that I'll never forget. It was Frank Sinatra and Tony Bennett entertaining Mr. and Mrs. Reagan. And then when I represented President Trump, Jay Sekulow and I remember twice we snuck into concerts to have to get his attention. We came down the side so nobody would see us. Another time, we were sitting in the audience waiting to get to him, and several of the people were trying to say, "We know what you're doing here." But they need a room that can hold 1,000 or more people for ceremonial events, for state dinners. And honorary dinners, when people are getting a Medal of Honor or the astronauts are being congratulated or whatever, some great medical discovery, or when the Yankees win the World Series, which we're going to talk about in a little while. If they don't stop, it's starting to look a little remote. If they don't start going in a different direction. The Mets are also faltering, but they're holding on to their second place pretty tightly. So that means they can, whatever happens, they can start it all over again in the playoffs. The Yankees have to worry a little bit more about the playoffs. So the president is going to do this executive order, which will involve regulations penalizing banks that cut off people for political reasons. And there is, and I know the banks say they didn't do it. That's not true. I can tell you, based on personal evidence, that they do it, and they did it to me. And they did it to me for political reasons. And an employee, a nice person at the bank, admitted it, and admitted the reason. People connected with Trump. And of course, I was a prominent person in that position, and I, by far, without any doubt, wasn't the only one. I can't tell you how many I've talked to that had the same exact problem I did, and in some cases had to go, had to sort of set up a kind of list of what banks would deal with you. Not terribly different than not being able to find a lawyer, not just for me, but for the people that were indicted with us in Atlanta, particularly. One group of lawyers told me that they wouldn't represent me in front of a particular judge because she was so unfair to them. They offered to represent me in other cases, but they wouldn't go in front of this judge. They were so afraid of her. They were afraid that she has a tendency to like to put you in jail, which you can't really remedy real fast. And the particular circuit that you can pretty much guess wasn't terribly sensitive to the unfairness and dictatorial and fascist conduct of their judges, which is a disgrace that should be investigated and made an example of, because we want to be able to believe that our courts should be looked up to with just respect and dignity. And if you do that with a court that is practicing fascist tactics and conducting two-tier justice, which is it's a euphemistic form of a very serious kind of injustice, right? Well, you can't just smile at that. This is like taking away our country when courts aren't fair. And they sure weren't. I mean, unfair would be a total denigration of what actually happened. Well, it looks like some people may start to be held to account who are not, first of all, who are actually guilty, because the people that were going after regarding Trump were all not guilty and were being pursued in extremely exaggerated fashion. If we want to look at some of the January 6th people that might have committed misdemeanor crimes or something like that, exaggerated into, treason, 10 years in jail, 20 years in jail. How about the worst of all? No bail. So you go to jail before you're convicted or commit suicide. I mean, the reality is all of that has to come out. Now, this is not investigating them over J6, although they think that has to happen too. This is, boy, does this have a long time coming? Bill and Hillary Clinton have been subpoenaed in the Epstein affair. But that's really good that somebody's paying attention to the guy that was with Epstein the most, rather than the guy that was with him the least. I mean, given the enormous amount of evidence available of Clinton's familiarity, friendship, and hanging around with Epstein, why are the headlines all about Trump, who got rid of him 20 years ago, maybe 21 years ago, unceremoniously kicked him the hell out of Mar-a-Lago and the golf course? Now, just as a shrewd detective, which I am, and this is no reflection at all on the president's character, but if you had the worst thoughts about President Trump, right, you still would agree with me that he's one shrewd guy, right? You would, right? So now, why would he the dispute really was over his harassing a young woman who was a masseuse. But in any event, whether it was about that or about some kind of competing bid on a piece of property, which I don't recall at all. I do recall the incident with the masseuse. I don't recall it. I mean, it was recounted to me by several reporters, and I saw some of the documents they had of it. But in any event, if you were compromised by this weasel, right, which I tend to think he probably did to protect himself, you never would have thrown him out. You'd been ingratiated to him forever, the way Biden was, right, and the way Clinton was. You let him get away with anything. There is no picture of Donald Trump in Epstein's house, or should I say, full-length portrait and address that exists of Bill Clinton. Do we have a picture of that? American people haven't seen that in a while. This is one of the times that he wasn't inhaling, I think. Remember, he smoked marijuana. He admitted smoking marijuana. But Bill Clinton is constitutionally incapable of telling the truth. So he had to say that he doesn't know how to inhale.
Yeah, we should have that picture. That's VO1.
I understand.
Yeah, there it is.
There he is. I understand after that appeared, he got several harassing phone calls asking him for a date. You know that?
Yeah, who the? Who looks at that and says, "Yeah, that's who I want to go on a date"?
Now, does that prove anything? No. Does it show the disparity in treatment where somehow we're led to believe that Trump was extraordinarily close to Epstein when he hadn't seen him in 20 years and threw him out of both his club and golf course, and his bosom buddy here? That's our former president, all right? Okay. Now, I can't really spend too much time complaining about his dressing that way since, of course, I dressed that way several times for plays. I did it for Victor Victoria. I dressed up as Julie Andrews did it with me and showed me how to do it. There was another occasion. Oh, I dressed up as an Italian grandmother for Saturday Night Live with Sherry O'Terry. Oh, and then in a remake of the earlier one, the Victor Victoria, I did one with then Donald Trump, who was kidding around with me in a department store. It's interesting it was a department store. I should have thought of that during his trial. In that department store, there must have been 200 people around us when we were there, which is what would have happened to him if that incident alleged by that liar actually occurred. He would have gone into that department store, and there was no way he could have been alone with her if he ever wanted it. If there's any doubt in your mind that that isn't exactly somebody he'd want to be alone with. And unless you're completely wacky out of your mind, you don't go take advantage of a woman in a very, very small area of a dressing room in the most popular department store in New York City, if not in the world, where you are well known and are fawned on when you come in. So they're going to be called in for the Epstein. They're going to be called in for Epstein. That's one of the things. It gets complicated because there's so many different. There are two right today. Two different investigations that yesterday were in the news. And they could tend to get you confused because they just throw out the names of people subpoenaed. So the Epstein investigation is with the House subcommittee that wasn't able to get Biden. I've forgotten the name of it. They're going to have all those people there at least, but the Clintons are a part of it. So that Ted, does that suggest that this begins on August 18th? The circus begins on August 18th.
Well, that's what that is what they've
given
written
the
out.
track
We'll
record
see how this
of
works.
Coomer,
We may never see.
I would not imagine that
2026.
I would imagine the odds in Las Vegas are going to be against catching anybody, since in the case of Joe Biden, the evidence was shoved in his face and he ignored it. I see Garland and Comey and Clinton. Clintons are really way down the road. Yep. They're going to have plenty of time to prepare. Are they the last witnesses? Let's go back over the list. Garland and Comey, I see that.
Let's go back to VO2. Yeah, there we go.
I guess Comey was the head of the FBI when the Epstein case began.
Alberto Gonzalez was AG.
Well, Alberto Gonzalez
was the Attorney General.
Was the AG
2006
when they made the original deal. The original deal that's considered to be.
And you knew Alberto Gonzalez, right?
Of course I did. I knew him well.
That was a big deal when he got the job. When he got to be AG, I was in high school.
It was a big deal, and remember the U.S. attorney who had the case, who you and I spoke to.
He happened to be put at the same table as us. I mean, I don't really know him
at all. I have no
problem. Yeah, idea. Nice guy. He was labor secretary. I was a reporter.
He actually explained it as, it sounds to me, and I'm extrapolating a little bit, and that's why you see Barr and Gonzalez there. That decision, that original decision, where he was involved with a young child, he got a very short sentence. And no penalties afterwards. The U.S. attorney who handled that case in Texas said at the time, he didn't say it to us, but he said at the time when he explained it, that this was a call from above, and he always thought it had to do with his working with intelligence agencies. That's the reason I think you see Gonzalez there. He'd be the one that would know that. Bill Barr, of course, was getting confirmed when the second Epstein case began. So that's why I think you see Comey. Comey was probably the FBI director when he got arrested the second time. I guess Mueller was involved in his case as a Justice Department employee. Garland, of course, is Attorney General. Comey, also the original arrest. And then, of course, Hillary Clinton, money from him, lots of money. And Bill Clinton, an undisclosed number of personal visits that range from a minimum of 3 or 4, which he's, I think, admitted to, at least on the airplane, going down on the airplane. I don't know if he's admitted to going down to the island, to 27 alleged trips to the island by who I guess the guy will be the star witness, Bill Clinton. But it'll be very interesting to see if Bill still has the same capacity to schmooze us that he had when he said, "I never had sex with that woman. I never had sex with that woman." And Hillary then, as he was saying that, Hillary did everything she could for quite some time to destroy her reputation. Hillary was very good at that. That was her job in the original election, possibly back in Arkansas too, where they have quite a reputation, the Clintons, for skullduggery and dishonesty. The other investigation is a grand jury investigation. Now, that's a grand jury investigation of right now. Right now, it's sort of narrowing in on the effort to frame Trump with the Russian collusion purchased hoax, which could be one of the greatest scandals in of American history, if not that, the one that really shows how terribly corrupt we are. Because there wasn't a person that was writing about that didn't know that at least it was extraordinarily exaggerated. Many of them knew it was completely false, and very early on found out it was purchased, but covered it in a way that is impossible for you to believe unless you were there, because you wouldn't believe that people could be that dishonest, and you couldn't believe that these people you see on television who held a responsible government position were that evil to do something like this. Because they didn't just attempt to destroy their psychologically impaired with regard to Trump, but what about hurting all these other people you never heard of, and people hopefully you're not going to hear of again because they've gone off in their private life. But they were on their way to ruining, if they didn't ruin, a lot of lives, just in order to dishonestly keep out a president who looks to be certainly the best president of this century, certainly the best president, and that's not him. There's the guy that doesn't love America. I get proven right on almost everything. One time in about 2010, 11, I don't remember exactly when, at a meeting of Republican donors, we were talking about Obama, kind of freelancing, I guess, but we were saying, what's the core thing that's really wrong with his presidency? And I said, I think the thing wrong with him is he's the only American president where when I look at him and see him and particularly hear him, I don't feel that he loves America. I'm not sure I ever heard him say, I love America. I don't think I remember a president that hadn't said that several times, including Clinton. I love America. But I said that. One of the people at one of the loyal Republicans at the Republican leaked that to the press, of course, and it became a great big, hit on me for being a racist. Well, I didn't say anything about his being half white and half black. I didn't say that. I wasn't referring to that. I was referring to the fact that he doesn't seem to love America. I mean, later on, I said the same thing about Shifty Schiff. And gee, as far as I can tell, he's white, right? I can distinguish race and love of America. There are an awful lot of people who are black or mixed race or white or Asian or whatever that love America. And unfortunately, there are some that hate it. Now I've come to the conclusion, not with a tentative conclusion, now I've come to the conclusion that it's absolutely right that he and his wife bear a great animosity for this great country that's been so good to them. And they've done many, many things to deliberately hurt America. I think this is one of them. Whether they can prove it or not, we'll see. The immunity thing, of course, is an obstacle, but they're making too much of it because so much of this conduct happens after he's president. And he did make statements after he was president showing that he was still involved in it, aware of it, and pushing it. So I don't see how he gets immunity for that if there's criminal conduct involved. But in any event, it doesn't shield all of the others that are being called before the grand jury: Clapper, Brennan, Comey, and then there's so many others. The congressional people, like Shifty Schiff, with I have evidence of direct evidence of Trump being involved in Russian collusion. He might have even said witnesses, which he's never produced and never. I'd say he's going to have to produce it, or that's going to be used as a very, very strong piece of evidence that he was part of the conspiracy, and that those statements were overt acts in pursuance of the conspiracy. I mean, this is no joke. Removing a lawfully elected president based upon false testimony, perjured testimony, purchased testimony, purchased with over $1 million in laundered funds. Hillary is Hillary authorized that. Now, we'll have to see if she tries to lie her way out of it or how much evidence there is to put that together. I know there is evidence to put it together. So Hillary is exposed in that investigation, hasn't been subpoenaed yet, but it was really originally all for her benefit. That first meeting at the White House where Obama took it over in Brennan was for her benefit. Now, I don't see how Obama may have been the director, as he was the director of Numbskull's presidency, but she was the beneficiary and one of the financiers of it. So you have the Coomer investigation, which is a House investigation by a committee, or at least by a chairman. He doesn't let anybody else in the committee talk. It's hard to know who else is on that committee, but he should, because he's not very good. And then you have the Justice Department investigation. And in fairness, now even at Coomer, the Justice Department has many more tools to be able to get at what they need to. The thing wrong with Coomer is he couldn't handle evidence that was smashed right in his face. He didn't know how to use it. Some of it being something that a first-year law graduate would be able to figure out how to use. Admissions against interest, admissions against penal interest. These are all very, very significant things under the law in terms of credibility. I'd say that they're really, really hoping with this Epstein thing that after, I think we're on chapter 7 now in the book, How to Destroy Trump. It starts with Russian collusion. It then goes to the falsely attributed Ukrainian conversation. That one lies with Shifty Schiff. Now, I consider this all part of one conspiracy. I know they're doing it as separate ones, but I think it immediately becomes easier to prove, easier to get a jury over the initial reluctance of convicting a president or people at a very high level if you show them the enormity of the proof. So the ball started rolling with Russian collusion, but it's still rolling. And now the ball is rolling with Epstein. And I can assure you, it's almost like the beginning again. I was absolutely certain that Russian collusion was a false charge because I was with Trump during most of that campaign. And at certain times, I was with him, what you might regard as 24 hours a day, except sleeping time. And he had nothing to do with the Russians. It's just, I didn't know of course, I didn't know that Hillary had paid for it. If I had known that, I would have assumed she'd go to jail. Because at that point, I still thought we were America. But they deprived us of America for 4 or 5 years. So they're doing the Epstein thing now. Now, of course, I don't think this is to impeach him. Who knows if they get control of the House or whatever. There's too much counter evidence here. It might slow them down. But in any event, they are hoping that this is really going to hurt Trump, really going to hurt him. Well, so far, everything they've tried, going back to indicting him and convicting him of a felony, which elected him president, just backfires in their lying, scummy faces. So his base hasn't changed through any of this, including all of the Epstein files thing. Hasn't changed. Then remember, if Trump bombs Iran, his base will run out on him. His base supported it 84%. So he had like the other 16% answered the question wrong. They thought they were talking about Biden. 84%. Now we have another one. If he continues to support Netanyahu with regard to Hamas and Iran, his base, who is pacifist and isolationist, will discard them. It turns out that although there's been a little slippage in support for Israel in America, still a majority of America supports Israel. And even a teeny bit of slippage among Republicans has it down to 70% with whatever is going on in Gaza, which is a complete, again, hoax. Of course, they're starving because Hamas kills the people who bring the food to them. How about that? Or steals it, which they've been doing forever. And when the UN handled it, it was given directly to them. So Bibi made an interesting statement, which was supposed to be, was originally leaked as Bibi is going to agree to either a ceasefire or a peace or whatever. Well, he has, but he's thrown in full occupation for a while by Israel of Gaza. Now, do you see Hamas agreeing to that? I don't see them agreeing to it. I mean, so far they haven't agreed to recognize Israel, which is makes it all a non-starter. Oh, a non-starter for the last 35 years, but that doesn't stand in the way of people having a two-state solution. Forget who the states are, and even forget the history of it for a minute. Just use your logic, and let's see if you pass Intelligence 101. There are two entities. One is an established country. The other is a group of people who claim a part of that established country. The claim is dubious to start with, and they try to advance that claim by massive killing of the group of people in the country and their supporters. And very early on, while the killing by this group is going on, the President of the United States, who we saw in a address before, says, well, let's have a two-state solution. We're going to have that group that goes and kills the people in that country that they want a part of. We're going to make them equal to the other one. And we're going to have the other one say, this group of people that is dedicated with a blood oath to destroying us, we're going to let them just have that country. But would you, even as a neophyte, political figure, political thinker, foreign policy analyst, and historian, me, wouldn't you come to the firm conclusion this will never work? Do you have to be a genius to come to that conclusion, or just an honest person? I'd say just an honest person. And it's the same today as it was then and will always be, because Israelis are not suicidal. If they were, they wouldn't be probably one of the greatest examples of building a great country out of nothing in a place where everybody else has built nothing and nothing is opposing them. Some have advanced now, but it's taken a while. But the one that wants to become a state would be a disgrace as a state. So Bibi says he's in favor of it as long as there's complete occupation. There are people raising the concept that the elimination of Hamas was an unrealistic goal in the first place, that you're not going to be able to do that. And then, of course, we have the family members, which we'll get to when we come back, who want him just to end it and bring their horribly abused, tortured children home, which tears at your heart tremendously and does, create a certain degree of unpopularity if the prime minister holds out, but then the prime minister has to think of the whole country, right? Not just the people that are taken. Any war could be won that way. Hitler could have taken 5 people and said, leave me alone or I'll kill your 3 children. It's a tough one. The question of whether eliminating Hamas is a realistic goal or not is something worth considering, although I think it is a realistic goal, and I think they're close to it. But I can understand why the complete elimination of it, because they can go underground or hide in Qatar or whatever, maybe that in that sense, they could be effectively eliminated. People can go back and put it together again, right? So let's take a short break and we'll be right back.
Whether it's being a weekend warrior or spending time with your family, feeling your best is the key to doing the things you love. That's why I'm excited to tell you about Nirvanta. It's a natural solution designed to help you stay active and live well naturally. Nirvanta is a topical blend of all natural essential oils like frankincense, myrrh, and a proprietary gold standard plant stock extract. It's perfect for your hands, feet, knees, back, or anywhere else that needs a little extra care. Use Nirvanta proactively as part of your daily maintenance routine, and you're guaranteed you're going to feel the difference. Simply massage Nirvanta in for at least 60 seconds, 2 to 3 times a day to get the best results. And if you're not completely satisfied, you get your money back. No questions asked. There's simply no risk and no reason not to try Nirvanta today. Right now, you get 15% off with code Lindell exclusively at NirvantaHealth.com. So stop reaching out for that medicine cabinet. Get Nirvanta instead and experience the difference. Go to NirvantaHealth.com. Use code Lindell to get 15% off today. Nirvanta Health. Live well naturally.
Friends, we all know the truth. Big Pharma and the federal bureaucracy have made a mess of healthcare in this country, and boy, that's an understatement. President Trump signed an executive order to bring prices down, and that's a great step. But we know that real change takes time. There's one pharmacy that is already stepping up. I want to tell you about All Family Pharmacy. They're not waiting. They're taking action now with a summer sale that gives you the power to take control of your health. Right now, through the end of June, you get 20% off site-wide, no insurance required. Did you hear that? 20% off site-wide, no insurance required. They work with licensed doctors in all 50 states, and they ship fast straight to your door. Whether it's ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, antibiotics, emergency kits, or your daily prescriptions, this is a time to stock up. If you believe in medical freedom, if you're tired of waiting for someone else to fix things, do what I do. Take action. Go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Lindell and use promo code Lindell20, Lindell 20 for 20% off your entire order. That's allfamilypharmacy.com, Lindell. Promo code Lindell20. Let's protect our families, defend our freedom, and make America healthy again together.
With everybody talking about making America healthy again, I thought today'd be a great day to talk to all my fellow patriots about the importance of making your homes healthy again. Well, we have proudly partnered with airwaterhealing.com and their revolutionary whole home air purification system. The V3 from Air Water Healing does 3,000 square feet of purification. It eliminates dust, mold, viruses, and odors. But here's the part I love. They require no filters to ever be changed and virtually no maintenance. Whether you suffer from asthma, allergies, seasonal bronchitis, or just want to protect your family from the flu or even greater threats, don't wait to get your V3 from airwaterhealing.com today. Use code Lindell for 20% off in savings and free shipping. That's promo code Lindell at airwaterhealing.com. The last time President Trump was in office, gold soared 50% and silver went up a huge 53%. Americans who invested in silver and gold during Donald Trump's first presidency are very happy that they did it. And right now, gold continues to soar to the highest numbers in history. These gains are just an appetizer for what's to come. Some market analysis are saying that gold is predicted to rise another 30% in the next year alone. So now's the time to invest in gold and silver, and that's why I partnered with Fisher Liberty Gold. Fisher Liberty Gold is a conservative-owned and operated precious metals investment company. They even helped my good friend President Trump get elected through their contributions to Turning Point USA and other conservative groups. I have dedicated my life to ensuring that people get the best sleep ever. And in addition to owning a MyPillow, I can now sleep well at night knowing that you can all protect your savings with precious metals with Fisher Liberty Gold. With Fisher Liberty Gold, you can sleep well knowing that your retirement is secure. And if you call now, you're going to receive your very own presidential gold guide and qualify for up to $20,000 in free silver. But wait, there's more. Call now or text metals to 26786 to receive your presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty. And for a limited time, I will send you a free MyPillow for qualified accounts. This presidential gold guide from Fisher Liberty will tell you exactly why you need to own gold even while Donald Trump is president. And just by calling in, you get a free MyPillow for a limited time for qualified accounts and up to $20,000 in free silver. So don't wait. Call 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today. That's 1-888-4GOLD-19 or text metals to 26786 today to receive your free MyPillow and up to $20,000 in free silver.
I'm going to go with the mother. Welcome back. This is Rudy Giuliani. This is the Rudy Giuliani Show on LindellTV. There was a very, very heart-rending plea from the mother of Ram Braslavsky. Ram Braslavsky is one of the two young men that was featured in both the short and the long version of a video, which in and of itself is an act of war for which no one is being held to account. There are innumerable acts of war, inhumane treatment, violations of international law, so many it would be impossible for someone as inept as the people at the International Court of Justice to keep account of them. But why they're prosecuting a prime minister and his chief of his army, who go out of their way not to kill civilians, including giving warnings of strikes and things like that, and then allow the other side not only not to do that, but to use videos as a way of extorting the other country. That is out and out an act of war and an act of inhumane treatment and a gross violation of international law. It's not even criticized. It's not even criticized by the Times, the entire pro-Hamas, pro-Islamic extremism, pro-Iranian regime of American media. Don't even criticize what was done just the other day by Hamas by putting out these two young men who look like they've gone through the Holocaust and look like they're dying. And according to Ram in his communications about this, he is dying. The 90-second clip, which they put out involving Ram, which the other was Eviatar David. He was the one shown digging his grave. Ram's mother, Tammy, held a press conference yesterday, begging, as she, I would say, as any of us would, for the Israeli government to do everything to get her son back. I can't sleep. I can't live. You have to stop what you're doing here. What's wrong with you? What's gotten into you? Why are you doing this to us? Bring in food. I am surviving on less than a liter of water, he added. I assume he's talking about his own government there, although it is a bit ambiguous. And of course, the pressure on Israel is end the war, get the hostages back, and whatever remains of Hamas, and enough remains so that they can keep these hostages, right? It isn't as if it's completely disappeared. And Netanyahu's goal of unconditional victory, which was, of course, our goal against a Nazi extermination group, will not be reached. The Ehud Barak, former prime minister, friend of mine, also was very harsh on Netanyahu, saying he's continuing this war to maintain his hold on power, because should he end the war, parts of his right-wing coalition will break away and he'll have no government. Well, I would say to Ehud, who's a very, very decent man and a good man, I would say to him, and of course, they've been rivals on different sides since they were born, I think. That's a little harsh and not necessary at a time where national unity is really necessary. And the interpretation, I would say it's fair to interpret Netanyahu as doing everything he can to have his people survive. And it is a very difficult, soul-wrenching decision to decide what do you do about hostages in a situation like this. To argue, and it sounds very cold-hearted when you do it, right? But to argue that you can't negotiate with terrorists over hostages, otherwise you're going to have endless numbers of hostages. They're going to learn the practice, and they're going to learn they can take advantage of it. And they're going to learn that when they get taken by the Israelis, it's just a matter of time before they get back into the army again, because they'll take as many Israelis, whether it's a time of war or peace, whether that was the right practice or not. On the other hand, the humanity of it is overwhelming. I mean, they'll say, we'll give you 1,000 back for one, which they did. Now, one of the people they gave back in that particular trade is the guy who led the effort against them on October 7th. And that's what you're in for. A lot of I shouldn't say a lot. Some of the people they've released have been used against them. Some of the people Obama released were used against us. And maybe if you know you're in a region of the world where they're going to consider using that tactic, maybe the tactic has to be, you take our people, we take what is one of the best extraction forces in the world, our IDF, and we're sending them in to get them. You want a real cold analysis that's logical? You're going to kill some of them anyway. I bet in our extraction, we get out more alive than 4 years from now we get back from you. We think, I don't know how many they've killed that they had, but they say right now there are like 20 alive and 30 dead. How many would have died if there was an extraction attempt? How many would have been saved? If you do extraction and massive penalties for it, or including trying to eliminate them, you have a much better chance of saving the next guy. At least that's my thought, and it is not an irrational one or a cruel one. It depends on who are you, whose lives are you trying to save. Now, it is true, one life is real and the others are hypothetical. But how hypothetical are they when you have a group of people that have been killing you for 40 years and wake up every morning vowing to kill you again? And most of the world are on their side and not yours. There's something wrong with that, by the way, really, really wrong with the world and the world community that we theoretically respect. And I think Trump and many of his people disdain. And maybe they're right, and they are right. Meanwhile, Israel is not letting them stop doing what we should be doing, which is knocking the hell out of the Houthis. I don't know why we made peace with them. without destroying them. They are an Iranian proxy group that has participated as much as they can in helping the reign of terror create a Islamic caliphate in the world. They do it from the sort of somewhat removed confines of Yemen, south of the Saudi Arabian Peninsula. This little country that's worth less than probably our smallest state, has at various times done billions, if not trillions of dollars worth of damage to world shipping. They have killed Americans, which I will never forget, and about which we should get really even and not make peace with them. And when they attempt to attack Israel, Israel fends off the attack now and then bombs the hell out of them. So hopefully there's not too much left of them. They intercepted a missile from Yemen yesterday, and then they hit Yemen back really hard. So they can do, obviously, Bibi and the Israelis can do more than one thing at a time. While they're talking about occupying Gaza, they're bombing the hell out of the Houthis, who we should be joining them in bombing the hell out of them, because they killed Americans, and they wouldn't stop at killing more Americans if it weren't for the fact that we made this little peace with them. But then we allow them to attack our friend. Something missing there for Rudy, at least. I don't really count for anything, but something missing in my view of the world, Ted. I don't know. I do like the fact that we just concluded the sale of $1 billion worth of arms for Ukraine, paid for by Europe. I like that. I like the way that was negotiated. I like the sophistication of it, and I like the accommodation to domestic politics, which is, and the analysis that was done today. I'll get you the name of the person who did it, which is that the MAGA reaction here is not what the most extreme isolationists believe, which is we don't want any involvement of any kind, no matter what. We want a lot less involvement. We don't want the opposite of that, which is every involvement every time with us paying for everything. We want to see some discipline there, so America has room to take care of its other problems and issues, and also become stronger. The more your resources are diverted to so many different theaters of war and whatever, the less resources you have for the one that only you can really contest, which is China, unless you bring in allies, which he's been very, very good at doing. So the idea that Europe is paying, and also that Europe does appear to be, not with regard certainly to Israel, but with regard to Ukraine, completely united and willing to put up this kind of money, and they say even troops, although that I have to say, that bodes well for eventually being able to get Putin to the bargaining table or better. So $1 billion worth of arms. The U.S. had stopped sending weapons for a short period of time. That has continued. We still are paying out on the amount that was guaranteed, I think, by Biden. So so don't get confused. We're doing two things. We're sending them weapons. That is what we agreed to in the past. And now we are selling weapons to NATO, which is headed to Ukraine. And the Netherlands did the first purchase for 500,000. And then Denmark, Sweden, and Norway purchased another 500 million. 500,000 to get you a gun or two. 500 million on Tuesday. This is part of the July 14th agreement, and it's being overseen by Secretary General Mark Rudy, and I think some of it had actually been earmarked and sent, both what we owe them and what is going to be involved here. A lot of this, not all, are missiles for for defense. But of course, missiles for defense aren't very much different than missiles that can be used for offense. Now, Ukraine is getting, the Ukraine thing has gotten Europe united and our allies in Europe, and some that aren't even allies of ours on other things that are really important, like in the Middle East. But we do have an outlier. Yes, Ted.
Right, Mayor. I'm just signaling that we are closing out our first hour. This really flew by.
That was quick. So
But stick with us.
The point that I wanted to make was that India has really gotten itself into the doghouse with President Trump, and they deserve it because they're doing a tremendous amount of business with Russia, which is being used to kill Ukrainians. And of course, they want to be our ally with regard to China and several others, but they also belong to BRICS with China. And BRICS is an organization of countries like Brazil and Russia, all the enemies of the United States. India doesn't belong there. And they're trying to destroy the American dollar. They're trying to get it. Their effort is to destroy the American economy. And what the hell is India doing in that group? So I think Modi has got to be taken to the woodshed, even though he's the president of a country. And I think tariffs are going to do it. I think they're going to get bombed with tariffs. Well, go over to X. We'll be there very shortly, 8 o'clock. We'll continue with some of the inhumanities of Russia in what they're doing to prisoners. It's really ridiculous, and that's not reported. And we'll see you tomorrow night. God bless America.